Tennessee Valley, welcome to Plan Today on Tomorrow. My name is Gary Thurman. I am the CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors, and we are so thrilled to have you on the show today. I got Mr. Bobby Futch in here with me today. Bobby, what's up, man?
Well, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing great. Tom McDermott, how you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. We had a great weekend. My mom actually came to visit.
So that's right. You had Mom in town this week.
We went and did all the touristy things. We did Ruby Falls again.
What do you think about that?
It was fun. I did learn a new fact about Ruby Falls this weekend.
Oh, I want to know.
So apparently there's I think it's like 5 times as much magnesium in the water down there as there is in laxatives. So if you go down there, don't drink the water, right?
Bobby, is that your problem? Because you went to Ruby Falls last weekend.
Yeah, that might have been it. I didn't know that. I know now.
Oh, I love it. We got Tristan Baker over in the corner making sure everything's going well for us. We got our ladies out here in the office, Bridget and Rhonda and Abby, taking care of all the wonderful things. We actually have some guests in our studio today, gentlemen. Stephanie and Amy are here from Foundations, just, really kind of neat what they're doing with us this week and helping us with our processing and client intervention and all these different things. So it's been a good training few days for us,
Yeah,
Bobby.
It's been really awesome to have them here just to kind of figure out, we do what we do every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it just takes a fresh set of eyes to come in and say, you guys could tweak this or do this a little bit different to help our clients out more efficiently. It's been awesome.
I think it helps out a tremendous lot. And today's show, guys, we're going to talk about some really cool things. And really what I want to focus on are pre-retirees, really, or even maybe post-retirees. But, what's keeping folks up at night? A few weeks ago we did a show, Tim, and we Googled the top 5 questions folks 55 to 65 are asking on Google. That was a great show. And a lot of this is relevant to that as well. But I think there's a lot of fear still out there, Bobby, in America, and we're going to get into that here in a few minutes. But here's what I want to ask you guys first. I'm a little troubled. Krispy Kreme is pulling out of McDonald's.
Oh, my goodness. It's the end of the world. Shut it down.
It's devastating.
A headline in the Wall Street Journal.
A headline in the Wall Street Journal right here. Krispy Kreme deserts McDonald's. I thought that was pretty good. Bottom line is they just said they were not making any extra money on their bottom line.
I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's been a while since I've been to McDonald's, but I didn't know Krispy Kreme.
I didn't
was
either.
there.
That's why I'm bringing this up.
I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, we're the home of Krispy Kreme.
That's right.
Right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I did not know that they were in guys, I've never seen that.
Me either.
That's probably good news for us. Tells us we don't go out to fast food a lot, or at least not McDonald's.
Well, here's the good thing for our listeners. Hopefully, if they're a pre-retiree, they don't have to worry about going to McDonald's and getting donuts anymore and getting more unhealthy.
That's right.
But let's just jump in here, guys, because let's. What are people struggling with? I think, going back to that show a few weeks ago, do we have enough money to retire? When should we take Social Security? Am I missing something big? And I don't think we're here today to lecture anyone. We're here to just to guide and to educate Bobby on what's going on. But I think the largest fear out there, and it's not going to go anywhere. I talk about it in my book, throughout my book, is income. Do I have enough? Because I think a lot of people put a number on that, like, oh, when I get to X amount of dollars, I can retire.
Or a certain age.
Or a certain age, but that's really not what they should be thinking about. And I don't think so. What do you think?
I agree with you. And I think everybody has this preset notion of, I want to retire at 60, 65. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that number is not your goal. Your goal is to have sufficient income by that number, right? So you really have to look at it and say, I'm not really planning for a particular age. I want to make sure that I can live the lifestyle I want to live in retirement, a lot of times guaranteed, and that's what you should be planning for. And so whenever people come in and talk to us about wanting to retire, we ask the question, when would you like to retire? And that gives us kind of a starting point where we can plan for these folks to say, okay, let's see what kind of income plan we have we can put together, what kind of assets do we have to work with, and it gives us the goal of, let's try to make this work by that age.
I think people get caught up in that because they need a goal to reach for, right? And so they think if they're saving XYZ a month to get to this number by this year, then it sets them up. But the missing point to that is, to your point, Bobby, that they don't know what kind of income that's actually going to generate for them. And that's the real key.
But are we finding with clients that you guys are talking to here in the office, are they more worried about income than they actually are of death? I mean, seriously, they're more worried about running out of money versus passing away.
Yes, it's
You
scary.
die, you don't need any income.
Well, that's true.
That's true. And I think, I kind of did some reading on this in preparation for the show, and it's because, most of us at one point in our lives have been broke. Like, we know what that feels like. And so we go, I'm not going back there. And death is, while it's inevitable for almost all of us, it's so abstract that it's not really something we're afraid about. But we've been broke. We've been able to not take care of the people, or worry about not being able to take care of the people that we want to. So that's a very real thing.
And Tim, how many people are coming in? You guys are seeing so many folks week after week. Someone comes in here and they're like, look, guys, I've got $1 million in my 401k. I don't need an income plan. Is a 401k an income plan?
No. It is a plan.
It's a vehicle.
It's an employer-sponsored plan.
Yeah, employer-sponsored plan, yeah.
It's a retirement plan. It's not. It doesn't map out or guarantee anything for you in retirement, unfortunately. But it's a vehicle that you've probably been in for the last 30, 40 years as you save for retirement. So it creates a sense of comfort because you're used to it, right? And so we found a few folks that it's hard for them to let go of that at first, but I think once they see the written income plan and the guarantees that are produced with it, it makes it a very easy step moving forward.
And Bobby, how do you and Tim, when you're sitting down with a client, because I think, financial planning, retirement planning can get complicated, right? And we've seen all the graphs, we've seen all the numbers out there. But I think, what we have created here at Guardian is a little special with our bucket system, because once we solve for that income, and we know it's guaranteed, we know they're never going to run out of money. Their number one fear is now gone. They can sleep better at night. But how do we take advantage of that bucket system and show them where they don't need all of their assets to create that income?
That's right. And so we'll kind of back into that number. And so the first exercise we'll run with a lot of our clients is, what does it cost you to live your lifestyle every month in retirement?
Which can sometimes be a challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a big project for a lot of people. And I would say for a majority of people, they don't know what that number is. They'll come in and say, I've been getting paychecks for the last 40 years. I pay my bills. There's some left over, so I'm okay. Great. You are doing okay if you have some left over. But once those paychecks stop, we need to have a goal to work towards.
That's right. Because income while you're working is very different than income while retired. You're
Without
not
doubt.
traveling as much. Maybe you're spending more on like retirement plans that you're not going to spend in retirement. But that is very quickly offset by going to see the grandkids 4 times a year and flying out to Italy for a month and so on and so forth, right?
That's right.
But there are different stages of income planning, gentlemen. I mean, I know, the go-go years. That's what it's all about, right?
I feel like we need a song for that. Every time you say that,
Go,
we need
go.
to start playing a
Go,
song.
go.
Yeah.
I'll come up
Maybe
with something
Tristan,
catchy.
we work on that?
We got to find something from
Tristan, let's go
the
ChatGPT and figure
Beatles or
something out. Yeah. But anyway, the go-go years. Let's say Tim, somebody retires. A couple retires at 65. I mean, they're looking 7, 8, 9, 10 years to
Yep.
go and have fun, right?
Sure. Most people, it's about a 10-year time frame, yeah. And then after that, it's the slow
go.
years.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't need as much money, maybe.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you quit having fun, right? It just means that you're probably not having a lot of those front-loaded retirement
Yeah,
expenses.
that fun probably happens in your house now.
or locally, but that's not a problem. We deal with clients all the time that come in and say, listen, I've earned this. As soon as I hang it up with my employer, you're not going to see my wife and I again, for the next 4 years because we're going to be traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's front load some retirement expenses in this plan. And we have ways of doing that to make sure you have access to that money when you really can spend it and enjoy it.
But again, how do we use our bucket strategy? We got about 2 minutes here, guys. I actually started our clock a little late, Bobby, just to let you know that.
Got it.
But how do we use our bucket strategy to make sure that we have their portfolio set up where all of a sudden another 2008 happens
Yeah.
and wipes them out?
Think of it like a traffic light, right?
Okay.
You got 3 colors on a traffic light: green, yellow, and red. And that green bucket is the one that Gary was talking about earlier. Well, we make sure you have the guaranteed income to make sure that
You
if
can
there's
go.
you can go. Yeah, you can go, and you
love it.
don't have to worry about the market corrections. Right? Another 2022 happens, another 2008 happens. People all over the country and all over the world were just freaking out because in some cases half of their retirement savings was gone.
Yeah.
And so the green bucket allows us not to have to worry as much with those market movements, allows us to work through those movements, not feel like we have to get out to save what we already have. And so it allows you to have a more dialed in approach in the market in a less stressful
And
way.
that bucket's really there and
Yeah.
meant to accomplish the necessary goals of living through retirement. It doesn't necessarily pay for that trip to Italy and all the go-go times that you have, but it's meant there to capture the mortgage is paid, the car is paid, the groceries are paid for, right? But that's where the red bucket comes in. Gives us some liquidity, some
That's right.
access that, hey, if the market's down, we're in a really bad spot. Maybe we push that trip off for a month or something, right?
Right.
But it allows us to reach in and pull up things.
And allows for traditionally more growth than the green bucket to pay for taxes, which we think here are going to go up in the future, and inflation. We really want inflation in our economy. It's a sign of a healthy economy.
Yeah.
But sometimes it gets a little out of hand and it can get stressful.
Folks, listen, the bottom line is it gets crazy out there when it comes to income planning. When we come back for our second segment here, we're going to talk about Social Security. I think that's very important. Taxes. We're going to do that. One of the things I'd like to offer everybody listening today is a copy of my book. And it's so easy to get a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. All you have to do is text the words Plan Today. Plan Today to 877-706-7526. I'll say it again. Plan Today, 877-706-7526. We will send you a digital copy of the book, and then we'll put one in the mail, and it'll come right to your doorstep, absolutely free. Again, text the word Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Hey, guys, stay tuned. We're going to talk about some Social Security and taxes when we come back.
We know the market is going to get worse from here. This is the biggest monthly decline in 10 years. People's 401ks took a major hit.
Well, my investments are tanking. My retirement isn't going as planned. I can't believe I let my kid talk me into buying crypto. I mean, what is that anyway?
This was the fourth worst contraction in history.
So how are you two doing?
Your financial future doesn't have to be uncertain. I'm Gary Thurman with Guardian Investment Advisors. If you've amassed a nest egg, it's time for a financial advisor to help you reach your retirement goals. This is one of the greatest tax windows in history. Now is the time to take advantage of this tax discount while you can. All of our advisors are fiduciaries that specialize in retirement planning, tax mitigation, estate planning, and more. Plan your retirement right. Call now for your own complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis. Welcome back to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors right here in the Tennessee Valley. Folks, we got offices in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. We got a great team. Myself, CEO, Tim McDermott, Bobby Futch, Tanner Moore. We got Bridget, Abby. We've got Rhonda. And we've got our boy Tristan over in the corner working all of our videos and audios. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. And actually, we do a lot of fun stuff on those outlets as well.
I was going to say, you should tell them where they can't find us, because that's a short list.
That'd be kind of tough.
That's right.
We also have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, which we're very proud of. And what we're really focused on today are those things that pre-retirees are thinking about, or things they need to be working on. And we hit hard on income, gentlemen, in the first segment. So if you didn't catch that, go back and listen to it. But let's follow up with, we were talking about our red, yellow, and green bucket theory. The green bucket theory is all about our income planning, maybe some healthcare planning. Our red bucket of money, Tim, is our money in the market. What's the yellow bucket of money? That's the caution light. That means speed up, right? That's what I thought. I think it means speed up.
Only in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
It's like
does that mean
Stephanie,
speed
you know,
up.
in the HOV lane when she's only one person. I mean, it's kind of.
Oh, you just ratted her out.
I
on the
did
radio.
rat her out. Glad we don't play this out in Phoenix, boys.
No, the red bucket's important to help keep with the inflation, to help have access to other funds to do your trips, to have fun with, right? The green bucket helps us do the income. The yellow bucket's there. It's a cautionary light. It means slow down, Gary.
Slow down.
It means that the red light's coming right now. It's there, and it's there for emergencies, right? Hey, if you have an emergency, the roof starts leaking, the AC goes out in the middle of the summer. If you're having that issue right now, it's hot.
Oh,
out there.
man.
Well, I've seen more than one person who's had that issue right now.
Absolutely.
But that's why the emergency account's there. Get in, get that AC fixed right now, and go back to sleep in a 70-degree house instead of sleeping in 85 degrees,
Yeah.
right?
It's usually cash in the bank,
that's
right?
right.
It's not terribly exciting,
That's right.
but it's safe, and you may get a little bit of interest there.
Well, you can, but I mean, Tim, I know you and I've sat down with folks and said go into a brick and mortar bank, your local bank. I understand you can go get your hands on that money very quickly, but they're not paying very good interest.
Right.
There's some banks out there, online banks, that are paying 4.5%, 5% in some of these money market accounts. I mean, why would you not do that? You get the money within 12 hours.
Comfort. I mean,
It
there's
is
so many
comfort.
people that we've met that just don't want to get away from their local bank.
Yeah, it's tough.
You
So
know.
I met with a client yesterday, and unfortunately, her husband has recently passed away.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so we're really trying to help her kind of get her hands and arms around what she's got, what the plan.
Yeah, she didn't know anything about what was going on. Her
Yeah,
husband
she's-
dealt with all of it.
Her husband dealt with all of it, but she's catching on so quick. And you know what she told me yesterday, Gary? She goes, I went out and got an introductory money market rate paying me 5.5%. If my husband would have been doing this all these years, I'd be rich. But to her, it was like, I've already made $600 by just moving money.
Yeah. And again, we're giving away our book today, folks, and I have a whole chapter in this book all about women for certain situations just like that right there. I had a client years ago. Her husband, massive heart attack, passed away. She knew where nothing was, gentlemen. It took us almost 2 years to find the money. So again, all you have to do is text the words "plan today" 877-706-7526. We'll send a book right out to you. Gentlemen, let's jump into Social Security. Here's some stats that I think are fascinating to me. There's 578 ways to file for Social Security. There's over 2,200 rules to the 578 ways you can file Social Security. I think Social Security is one of the most awesome things that we have in this country. I really do. But what we're seeing is that 96%, according to Forbes magazine, 96% of people are filing incorrectly, leaving over $4 trillion on the table, gentlemen. So, Bobby, I'll start with you. Why is it so important to work with a fiduciary advisor on when to take your Social Security, when to optimize your Social Security benefit?
Well, I think to have that conversation, you have to go back to when Social Security was put in place and actually what the words mean. Social Security. It wasn't meant to fund your retirement. It was meant to make sure that you had at least a minimum amount of income coming in. It used to be that you could make up the rest of that income you needed by a pension, but it's not that way for a lot of people anymore. And unfortunately, I think people are starting to change this thought, but they think, I'll have Social Security, I'll be fine. That's going to be a fraction of the income that you had in retirement, when you worked, rather. And so it's really important to take that income stream that's going to be with you for the rest of your life and possibly the rest of your surviving spouse's life.
Big.
And make sure that you're getting the most benefit out of that.
Sure.
Now, people go, okay, so Bobby, when should I take Social Security? I don't know. It has to do with your particular set of circumstances and how you maximize that guaranteed income stream. Whether you're working is a huge part of it, how long you intend to keep working, and again, how does that benefit work with your spouse's benefit to make sure that you guys get the most money from Uncle Sam?
Yeah, this conversation came up on a trip I was just on with some other advisors, and this particular advisor, who's one of my best friends in the world now, I love him, we were talking about Social Security benefits, and he's like, look, Gary, I'm hardcore diabetic. The chances of me outliving my wife are so slim, and I make more money, all right? So he's bringing in the most money, so his Social Security benefit's going to be larger, Tim. And I love it. He goes, I'm going to wait as long as I can for her.
Right.
Not for me, because I want her to get the larger of the two benefits. So your health is big as far as when you turn on this
Yeah, it
Social
absolutely
Security
can
benefit.
matter.
If you're married, anyway.
There's a crossover point where whether you take it at 62, 63, 67, 70, where it all kind of crosses over and says you get the same amount of money from Social Security, and it's right around 82, 83 is where it all kind of meets up at, right? So if you're going to live longer than 82, 83, it essentially makes sense for you to wait as long as possible. A, you don't have a crystal ball to know how long you live. B, that doesn't take into account the asset drawdown that you're doing in the meantime. And C, it doesn't talk about, hey, are you still working? Are you going to get penalized for taking your Social Security early? There's so many factors that go into this. That's why we have that personalized conversation.
Yeah,
That's
and
why we tailor it to
You made a good point there is, people say, well, I'll wait longer for the 8% roll up and I'll pull for my 401k and my IRA. You're really kind of penalizing yourself for doing that, because not only are you taking money out of the account now, how much is it going to grow next year? You got that compounding factor that could be, 30 years in the future, and you've pulled money out in the first couple of years because you wanted that 8% roll up.
Yep.
you might be being a little short-sighted with that.
8% roll up is not the same
That's
as
right.
8% rate of return.
I'm glad you made that point because I think that's big. I think a lot of this too, gentlemen. I think Bobby, you might have already said this. Is are you going to continue to work or not? I mean, we've had clients come in this door that are 62, 63 years old. They have got plenty of money to work with. I know you and I are on the same page here. If you've got plenty of money to work with, maybe we just go ahead and turn it on. You know, I mean, why not?
It's
And use it for something else.
Yeah, we have a whole calculator based around
do.
this. If you want to see that, I'd be happy to run it for you. But it shows the effect that you have on your assets. This is something that most advisors don't talk about. They don't talk about the effect that it has on the rest of your assets. And that's where Gary's point is coming from.
And if you
I
don't
think
need
it's
the money,
crucial.
you can take the benefit and reinvest it.
Save it.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we had a client in here not too long ago, gentlemen, wanted to retire at 62, but he was worried about health insurance, but he had plenty of money. It's like, just use your Social Security benefit to pay for your health insurance.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of ways to skin the cat. And we're not going to have time, guys, to jump into taxes because we've got about 2 minutes left on this set. But, you know, I think folks are missing the boat on working with a fiduciary advisor on Social Security benefits. I don't think it's a vacuum approach. You don't do what your uncle did. You don't do what your brother did. You don't do what your former, work partner did. You got to look at your situation, Bobby, and optimize that situation.
Yeah, I don't mean to bring another variable into the social security conversation.
Well, there's only 578 of them.
There's no, I mean, it's not that many.
but deciding when to add income to your retirement,
Yeah.
Cash flow
Yeah.
can affect so much else. Can affect Social Security, obviously. Can affect your Medicare premiums. It can cause some issues if you don't plan for it properly.
very true.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of glass over that, not worry about it, and say, well, if I get extra taxes, that means I'm making money. Okay, that's a plan. But come on and just have a
Is it a plan?
conversation. It's not a great plan. I would say it's a poor plan, but you should really work to try to make sure all those pieces fit together.
That's right. So, folks, listen, we're talking about income planning tremendously. Pre-retirees, that's the number one fear in America. It's always going to be the fear in America because of longevity risk. We're living longer, and the fact is we're going to need money for life guaranteed. So it's one of the biggest things I talk about in my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. If you'd love a copy of this book, all you have to do is text the word Plan Today. Text the words Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Again, PLAN Today. Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Guys, when we come back, I want to talk about what I think is the silent killer in retirement planning, and that's taxes. Folks, we'll be right back.
You might not be able to retire if you haven't thought about future inflation and future taxes. When you're going through your retirement plan, are you thinking about inflation? Does your current plan have inflation built into it? The national average is about 3%. Of course, it's been really, really high the last few years, but it has come back down. But you've got to build inflation into your retirement plan because we don't want to run out of money. Another thing I stress to my clients all the time is we got to think about future taxes. Our government has one source of income, and that is taxes. And I promise you, with $34 trillion in debt, $2 more trillion being added this year in 2024, the interest only on our national debt is $1 trillion. Folks, taxes are going to go up. You've got a window of opportunity in 2024 and 2025 while taxes are still on sale. Let's start looking at maybe taking some of your taxable money to tax-free money. This is all part of the Wealth Guard planning process. We'll do this for you when we're creating an income plan. You got to think about inflation and you got to think about taxes. Give us a call today and come in and see myself and my team, and let's put this plan together for you.
Welcome back to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors, Tennessee Valley. I hope you're enjoying the show today. My name is Gary Thurman, CEO here at the firm. I'm joined today by my good friend Bobby Futch and Tim McDermott.
And
Talking
Sammy the duck.
And I was going to introduce Sammy the Duck. We got Sammy the Duck on our video, so if you're listening to us on the radio, you can't see Sammy. But we're going to, when Sammy comes out, we're going to talk about taxes, boys. And I honestly feel, we're even doing a dinner tonight, gentlemen, and one of the largest conversations we're going to have is taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many folks fail to plan for taxes. And right now, I think a lot of people, Bobby, are failing to take advantage of taxes being on sale. So I'd really like to talk about things that pre-retirees should be looking at because, you know, where the tax bracket's going. You know, with our current administration in office, I feel that our taxes should stay low for the next few years. We don't know that yet. It hasn't been passed, but right now we're in the third lowest tax bracket we've ever seen in this great country of ours. Why, Tim, I'll start with you. Why are people not taking advantage of doing Roth conversions as we speak?
No one wants to pay more taxes now.
So you want to
go
pay them
down-
later?
I mean, you got to pay them at some point, right? So here's the conversation, right? And most people go down to their CPA and they say, hey, how do I save on taxes? And their CPA is looking at 2025.
That's it.
They don't care about 2026, 2027, 2028. They're looking at how do I save taxes right now? So their CPA says, well, keep putting money into that 401k tax deferred as much as possible. Because the less they have to pay in taxes now, the more they're going to love their CPA, right?
Well, yeah.
Even Sammy the Duck, he's kind of a quack at this, right?
He's kind
Did
of
you
a
get that
quack.
as a pun?
I talked to Sam the other day. He thinks taxes are going up in the future at some point, boys.
So, but to your point, if we're at one of the lowest tax brackets in history, how do we take advantage of that? Well, it really means pay some of your taxes now. But that's never a fun conversation to have. Bobby and I have had it multiple times this year, over and over again, and it's a conversation of saying, hey, let's pay some of those taxes now. Let's make our tax bill a little bit higher this year to save ourselves down the road.
I don't think of this any differently as you guys still get the coupons in the newspaper every weekend for
Yeah.
the grocery store.
Yeah.
You know you're going to need to buy groceries, just like you know you're going to have to pay taxes. So why don't you go buy your groceries while they're on sale? So many people do that.
Costco.
It's exactly the same way
Yeah.
with income taxes. I think we said we're in the third lowest income tax rates we have ever been in this country. I'm going to pay all the income taxes I can right now, especially if it means I don't have to pay them later. And in a Roth, you get years and decades potentially of tax-free growth.
So somebody's listening to us on the show right now, or they're watching us on YouTube, and they're 60 years old, Bobby. All of their money's tied up in pre-qualified accounts, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs. They are setting in a wonderful opportunity because they're probably not going to need this money for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They might not need it until RMDs. Starting to convert some, not
Right.
all of your money, starting to convert some of that, try to keep you in the same tax bracket. That's something you and Tim work on all the time.
We do it all the time, and the point you make is, in order for us to do the best job we can here, let's see how much money you have in pre-tax accounts, and let's look at your income tax returns for the last several years and figure out what your marginal tax bracket is. What's the tax bracket you're in now at the very top?
Right.
And not a lot of people know that it's a kind of a graduated
Oh, absolutely.
thing. So if you're in the 22% bracket, you're not paying all your income's not getting taxed at 22%.
Right.
Right.
But what that does mean is that there's likely going to be a little bit of wiggle room there between what your income is this year and the top of that, for example, 22% bracket.
Yeah.
So we can fill that gap with, I'll call it phantom income in the form of a Roth conversion, and you will not pay a higher rate in income taxes. Why don't we do that? And so we sit down towards the end of the year with all of our clients that are doing this and saying, let's try to put a little pro forma income tax return together.
That's the big one.
That's
Tanner,
right.
I'm sure Tanner's watching this right now, and he would be upset if we didn't mention it. But IRMA is also
Oh,
an
yeah.
issue with this, right? If you get over certain thresholds, you end up paying more for those taxes on your Medicare Part B premiums, right? And so those are another level that we look at. Both of those are calculated into a software program that we have. And here's what's crazy is sometimes it actually makes sense to go into that next tax bracket or skip that IRMA level, because in the long run of things, you understand that the tax-free growth is so powerful that it will make up for that.
That's right.
But why is this the number one thing that people are overlooking, gentlemen? I don't know. I'm just trying to.
So here's
Why?
you want to, if you pull back the curtain, this is what it looks like from the advisor's point of view, right? Your advisor's running a book of business, and his job, he gets paid based on the amount of AUM under his book, right? And so if he's telling his clients to go pay those taxes and lower the value in their book, and it's costing him extra time to work with that client, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to justify that from
Yeah.
his point of view,
I
from the
see it.
business point of view, right?
I see it.
But I think if you're looking at this from a long-term point of view, you're the advisor who you're looking to have a client, bring them on, and keep them for life. You know that at the end of the day, this builds a bigger book for you and greater wealth for your clients. It's a no-brainer.
And here's one of the things, folks, if you're watching or listening to us today, one of the things that we have created here at Guardian is plantodaytaxbill.com. It's so easy, Tim. Plantodaytaxbill.com. You can sit in the comfort of your couch at home, pour yourself a glass of wine, pop some popcorn, Go in there and look at what your current taxes are now and what they could be in the future. I'm going to throw this out there. 37 trillion in debt, which I think is totally false. I think it's a lot higher than that. 1 trillion in interest only on our debt. Every dollar we spend, the majority of that dollar goes to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and that interest on our debt.
Like 96 cents.
It's
on that
like
dollar
90
goes to-
plus cents of every dollar. Now let's think about that, Tim. So how valuable is it for someone to go to plantodaytaxbill.com and just look at the numbers? Or it doesn't cost them anything. Why would they not do that?
It's a nice, quick, easy calculator to say this is what it could look like for you in tax savings over time. And it's a nice, easy way to kind of open the door to that planning process.
I always tell people when we talk about this, be careful though, because you can't unsee what you're about to find out, right? And people really get startled when they find out how much of their, call it $1 million 401k, really isn't theirs. But
it's
if you
not.
start planning now, you can put more of that back in your pocket and less into Sammy's pockets here.
You
He's
know,
got
we
pockets.
hit Social Security a few minutes ago. Why it's important, and I don't think a lot of people realize there are taxes on Social Security benefits. I call it the senior-only tax. Get this, gentlemen. If you're single and your retirement plan is giving you $34,000 or more a year,
You're rich.
You're wealthy. Your Social Security benefits can be taxed up to 85%. A couple, $44,000 or more a year, up to 85%. Taxes are real. They're not going anywhere.
Yep.
They're the third lowest we've ever seen. I know we've said that 15 times already today, but we're just trying to get a point across, Bobby. Come in and have a conversation, and let's talk about taxes.
Yeah, let us help you. Let us help you pay some more in income taxes.
Like,
Kind of like a
that's
joke,
it.
but that really is the point. A lot of people don't realize it because no one likes paying taxes. And so, to Tim's point earlier, a lot of people work to keep that number low, but I believe you're being short-sighted.
So for the, by the way,
Go ahead.
because you just brought up those numbers. If you're $44,000 as a married couple, you're considered ultra wealthy in the eyes of the government for Social Security taxes. So they tax up to 85% of your taxes. The poverty level in the United States today for a household of two is $21,150. So double the poverty level is considered ultra wealthy, and that's the case because they never inflated those numbers with inflation along the way. So that $44,000 with inflation would probably be closer to $80,000 or $90,000 today, but it never kept up. They never put an inflationary growth to it.
And I want to piggyback on something you said earlier, Tim, because we were talking about CPAs, and we're not bashing CPAs at all, Bobby, but CPAs file your taxes. They don't do tax planning. That's why I think it's important for folks to come and work with fiduciary advisors that can help you plan for future taxes.
Yeah, and you make a good point. We will work with your other professionals.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
part of what we do, and the benefit we bring is we know the questions to ask your CPA.
And if you don't have one, we've got a few that we know
sure
are very
do.
good in
That's
this
right.
area.
I think almost everybody should have a CPA so they can work on strategies like this, which is more than just filing an income
And
tax
Sammy
return.
is not for hire.
No, Sammy's my personal CPA. Yeah, he's staying right here. Yeah, he's staying right here. Hey, so let's finish this tax conversation up again, Tim. PlanTodayTaxBill.com. Tell everybody about that one more time.
PlanTodayTaxBill.com. Go on there, check it out, see what your taxes look like. It only take you a few minutes, and it's worthwhile doing so.
Yeah, then call us and have a conversation about it.
So let's do a quick recap because we got one more set left, guys. And we're going to dive into some healthcare, long-term care, and different lifestyles and inflation. But the biggest things we've talked about on today's show is income planning, which includes Social Security planning for sure, right? We really dove deep into why and how to file for Social Security benefits. We just now got talking about taxes, and taxes are big. So income planning, Social Security planning, tax planning. I think something people are missing out on, Bobby, is that healthcare planning part. We're going to talk about that for a few minutes when we come back. And I don't think a lot of people are thinking about that lifestyle change that they're going to have to make headed into retirement. I think it can be such a big deal for you. Folks, here's the bottom line. If you're listening to the show today, I want to re-emphasize that calculator, as we call it, we have. PlanTodayTaxBill.com. PlanTodayTaxBill.com. Pull that from the comfort of your couch. Go through. It only takes a few minutes, really, to go through that. But I think it might open your eyes up to giving Tim and Bobby a call, coming in and having a conversation with them. Something else I'd like to do for you absolutely free is send you a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. It's 100% free. All you have to do is text the words Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Again, that's 877-706-7526. Text the word Plan Today. You'll get a digital copy of the book. and then we're going to send one right out to your doorstep as well. Read the book, come in and have a conversation with my guys here, and let's see if we can get you set up on that retirement plan where every day feels like a Saturday. So when we come back, we're going to dive into healthcare, long-term care, some lifestyle changes that are going to be looking at you. We're going to talk about a little health along with retirees as well. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you ever refinanced a mortgage to get a better rate? What if you could do the same for your retirement? Interest rates rise, investment strategies shift, fixed and guaranteed products are stronger than they've been in years. If your financial advisor hasn't talked to you about refinancing your retirement, you could be leaving money on the table. It's time to explore your options. Call Guardian Investment Advisors today for a complimentary review and see if refinancing your retirement makes sense for you.
Welcome back to Plan the Day, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors. I'm your host, Gary Thurman, in here with Tim McDermott and Bobby Futch. Guys, we've been having a fun show today. We have had some fun. We had Sammy the Duck on the show today, all right? We talked about .com. We got that from Mr. Brad Johansson and Joe Wilson,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, they're good radio stars.
Oh,
We should have them on
Well,
sometime.
Brad, I mean, my gosh, Brad's been in the entertainment field for years.
That's true. He kind of had an unfair advantage.
He's got some trophies, boys.
Yeah, he's got a couple Emmys, doesn't he?
Like
Yeah,
30.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm lagging behind by about
Yeah,
30.
we don't have any of those. That's what we need. That's our next prop. We need some fake ones.
Oh,
Yeah. But we've been talking about income planning, Social Security planning, taxes. There's all kinds of things pre-retirees should be thinking about. Again, I think one of the biggest pitfalls, other than taxes, there's taxes, fees, there's risks. There's a lot of pitfalls out there. But gentlemen, we have to talk about health care because Medicare does not, I want to repeat myself, Medicare does not cover everything when you retire like a lot of people think it does, Tim. So what is the big miscommunication, if you want to call it that, that's out there about health care? Because it's confusing.
Well, I don't think anybody thinks it's cheap anymore. I think that's sailed and gone, right? But Medicare is a nice health coverage to have when you retire, when you turn 65. Excuse me. However, it does not cover long-term stays. And it doesn't cover things like co-pays, or sometimes it won't cover if you're out of network.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful with that. We have an in-house senior healthcare specialist, Tanner Moore. He does a fantastic job of explaining that. He goes so far as to looking into what prescriptions you're on and says, hey, this plan may work better for you and it's probably cheaper.
He'll even break down per pharmacy.
Yeah.
He go, you live right here. There's this pharmacy. There's this pharmacy. It's $2.30 cheaper over here. I mean, he really takes it to a whole new level when it comes to Medicare planning.
I think of Medicare, at least Part A and B, traditional Medicare, like everybody thinks, as like Social Security. It was not designed to be the
end-all,
only
be-all,
solution
yeah.
for your medical care in retirement. They're great pieces of a plan. Social Security and Medicare, take advantage of them. You paid for them for your whole working career.
Right.
But you have to know exactly what you're getting out of them. And then you need more income on the income planning side. You need more health care on the health care planning side. And that's why we have Tanner on staff that does just that, because it's so important to make sure you get right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you don't usually get the best information by calling that 1-800 number you saw on TV in September, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. Why would folks, well, I'll just stick with you, Tim. Why would someone choose to come in and have a conversation with Tanner versus just getting everything done by one of the 800 numbers or the phone?
Well, for you single ladies out there, he's kind of cute.
He kind of looks like Tim Tebow, don't he? Yeah.
No, but
John Rahm.
he's an expert in this field, and he'll walk you through step by step. He'll ask you the questions that are necessary to decide, is it better to be on this plan or that plan? Do you need this kind of coverage, or are you better off just having a cheaper, inexpensive coverage, right?
Well, it's quite a local focused thing.
Yeah,
Because
it
when
is.
we
There you
go
go.
to him, the first thing he asks is, what's your client's zip code?
That's right.
And so he knows all the zip codes around the Tennessee Valley area. Your 1-800 number may not. And so he's really focused with the plans that are available here locally for folks, and can talk to you about
Yep.
how they work, when they work, why maybe you wouldn't take that plan.
But
And
that can't be free. It can't be free
It
to
doesn't
come in and
cost
work
any
with Tanner
extra.
Moore.
It doesn't cost any extra.
Yeah, so work with a stranger over the phone, or work with somebody in person that can get to know you, who you are,
right.
It's not going to cost you any more money. So
One thing I've seen him do recently, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
The thing that I've seen him do recently is he's working with folks who have worked for the state or with companies that offer those Medicare plans in retirement,
Mm-hmm.
and he helps them maximize what they're getting from that. Or does it even make sense to stay on those plans
Right.
for those folks? And that's pretty cool. So if you think, hey, you got TRICARE and you got everything covered, there's still ways to maximize your health coverages in retirement.
yeah, so if you're someone listening today and you're like, gosh, Medicare, I'm 63, 64, I'm about to step into that phase in my life, I would encourage you guys to reach out, get in touch with Tanner, have a conversation with him, do it over the phone, Zoom, or in person. He can really help you out on the Medicare side.
Now, what about those extended hospital stays, Gary?
That's where I want to go, because you guys both know this is a passion for me. I lived it, when I was 13 years old. My grandmother had to move in with us with Alzheimer's. We did not have a penny to our name, so we could not help my grandmother. My mother had to quit her job, so she's raising 3 kids. Now she's raising her mother again because of the state of mind she was in. Guys, long-term care is scary. Now, I like throwing this stat out there because I started in this business 27 years ago, Tim. 27 years ago, I was selling long-term care insurance plans, and at that time, 33% of folks would need some type of long-term care. Yeah. In 2025, that is 70% now, Bobby. 70% from 33% in 27 years. Why?
Well, medical advances are really, gotten really good.
We live
so
longer.
it helps people live longer, but it also helps people live longer sick, right? That's kind of flip side to that coin that not a lot of people are talking about is, I don't know the numbers on it, but somebody used to get diagnosed with dementia and, they didn't have a lot longer to live.
No, no.
But now, my step-grandmother's in this situation. There is nothing wrong with her, except her dementia diagnosis.
Yeah.
Doctors say you're going to live 5-10 more years, and my grandfather is still able to care for her at this point, but he may not at some point in the future. He's not exactly a spring chicken himself, but we're having this longer window because of how well doctors and we are taking care of ourselves.
Well, I think of longevity risk. So many people ask us all the time, what is the greatest risk to retirement? And I say longevity risk. Why? Because it brings in income planning, it brings in healthcare planning, it brings in Social Security planning, tax planning, it brings in everything. We're living longer, Tim. We have more opportunity to get sick, and there are some really, really neat ways we can protect you if you get sick, and I'm going to use the key word, if you get sick. You don't have to go buy traditional long-term care insurance. As a matter of fact, you probably wouldn't qualify for it, or you probably wouldn't be able to afford it. How are we helping our clients here at Guardian make sure that they don't have to worry about getting sick?
Yeah. It's funny. Stephanie and I were just talking Stephanie, we introduced her earlier. She's out here visiting with us, and she was just talking with us earlier, and she goes, you guys talk about long-term care a lot. She goes, I didn't know you guys did long-term care insurance. I said, we don't.
We don't. We can choose not to.
But we don't want to, right? And it's because it's inefficient, right? We talk about it all the time because it's so important to us. It's so important. It's really, part of your origin story, if you will, right? Kind of how you got into this industry.
It is.
And what made you passionate for it. So it's important to us in the planning process. But that traditional long-term care insurance is expensive. If you don't use it, you lose it. And it doesn't even cover everything along the way.
No.
So we've developed some plans and are setting people up to more or less self-insure, but leverage their assets to self-insure for long-term care down the road. And if you don't use it, your kids still get the money down the road.
Yeah,
right?
it still passes along. And we hope you don't use it. But we do now. I just said that stat. 70% of us will need it, Bobby. Now, the plans Tim's talking about, we call that asset-based long-term care. We're going to take an asset. We're going to put it into a plan. If you get sick, you got money for long-term care. If you pass, the money goes along to your family. You have to qualify for these, but the guidelines are not hard, first of all, right? Can you use taxable and non-taxable money? Can you use qualified or non-qualified money to do this?
We've got plans for both of them. And so just depending on what your situation is and what assets you have to leverage, these really work well. For example, the prospects clients that we met with, why did you have $250,000 in the bank? That's a lot of money to have
Collecting
in the bank.
cobwebs?
Collecting cobwebs. Well, that's my long-term care plan. Okay, well, that's an okay plan, but what if we could triple that benefit for you for long-term care if you needed it? What a great way to leverage those assets even further that you didn't plan on touching for anything else.
Right.
right? And still being able to leave that benefit to your kids if you don't need it.
And what's amazing about that, so they put $250 in, they're getting what, $750,000 somewhere in there right off the bat for long-term care insurance if they need it.
If they need it.
And that's going to grow at 5 or 6% a year guaranteed.
That's
So it's
awesome.
got inflation built in
But that 250 is also growing for them.
for death benefit.
Without sitting in the bank doing nothing, right? So it's a win-win all around the court on their side.
So we got about 2 minutes, gentlemen, and Bobby, I will stick with you for a few minutes. Someone comes to us, they're like, that long-term care plan you guys were talking about, I'm all about it. They don't qualify.
So they
Right?
don't,
What are we going to do?
if they don't qualify for those asset-based long-term care plans like we talked about, the fixed income annuity space has really done a great job in the last 5-10 years filling this need. And a lot of times that works as in you get that guaranteed income in retirement from your fixed income annuity. Oh, and if you fail 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, they'll double your income for up to 5 years.
That's important.
That's very important. Again, not traditional long-term care insurance
Right.
because that doesn't have any medical underwriting. But if you needed that benefit, you needed more income to bring somebody into your house to help care for you, or God forbid you need to go to a facility, you can pay for whatever you need out of those funds.
But if it's ADL driven,
Yep.
activity, daily living skills, there's 6 of them out
Here's the
there.
kicker, it's
You
coming.
fail 2 of those. Can you get care in your home?
You can get care wherever you want.
That's
to,
amazing to
Gary.
me.
Because once you turn this rider on, that income's coming to your checking account just like your retirement paychecks were.
Cruise ships have great medical services, by the way.
They do.
There you
Go on a
go.
cruise,
I like
turn on
that.
your doubler, right? It's this is so important to us. I have a client in Cleveland, Tennessee, using that right now. It's the only clients we have using it. And when his wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 63, gentlemen, he was devastated. He goes, Gary, I don't want to start pulling money out of my IRAs and stuff that you have for me to take care of this. I said, don't you remember the plan we did for her? And the reason I asked you that question about being at home is because he said to me, heck no, I'm not putting her in a home. I said, she don't have to be. She has failed 2 of the ADLs, brother. We can send the money directly to you, and it's just been such a blessing for them. I think the bottom line is out there, folks, you got to plan for income. You got to take your Social Security at the right time. You got to do some tax planning now. Take advantage of that, and be prepared for health care. Be prepared for that what if you're one of those 70% that you're going to get sick. You don't want to devastate your family because that's who gets the devastation. Talking about your grandmother, she's mentally not where she needs to be now, and that's hard for everybody around
exactly
her.
right.
So take care of your spouse, take care of your family, take care of your children, get protected if you're one of those 70%. We talk about long-term care planning a lot in my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. If you would like a free copy of this book, all you have to do is text the words Plan Today, PLAN Today, 877-706-7526. Again, 877-706-7526. Text the word Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Guys, it's been a great show.
Yes, appreciate it. It's fun.
Tennessee Valley, we'll see you next week on Plan Today, on Tomorrow.